So I'm here at Drink Tech on the Rexam stand with John Revess. John, first of all, to introduce, what's your role at Rexam?
I'm head of group sustainability, so that covers Rexam's global operations, which is principally a beverage can business.
Okay, and I gather you had some very exciting news that you released last Friday.
Yes, Rexam joined the Dow Jones Sustainability Index, which is a well-renowned external benchmarking for companies that take sustainability seriously, and we join only 5 companies in the packaging and container sector.
So a significant step. And I see on the stand here you're spelling out the stages and the way that you segment the activity. And I see here that we've got products, operations and people. Do you want to explain how your approach and your philosophy matches those different aspects?
Yeah, so it's what we call our sustainability framework, and the Dow Jones system goes into each of those areas in great depth. And this framework really supports how we approach our response. Traditionally, companies would focus very much on what was happening inside their operations, and one of the key planks of sustainability is starting to look at the wider supply chain. So we start with the products we make and the responsibility we take for them once they leave our factory gates. So we have responsibilities particularly around recycling at end of life, around working proactively with policymakers to ensure that, particularly in Europe where there are so many different ways of interpreting waste policy, there are good policies and management systems put in place. Making sure that working with suppliers and our customers to have a joined up approach on sustainability. There's no point thinking, for example, around over lightweighting packaging when that ends up having implications in the supply chain which become unsustainable in themselves. And then fourthly, looking at innovative new products to meet new consumer trends and trends around environmental performance, and our lightweight aluminium bottle is an example of that. So here in operations, this is traditionally our role to make sure that at the end of the day we're able to make more cans with less resources. And our track record going back 20 years is that we've taken about 30% of weight out of the can. And last year, in terms of lightweighting, as a global operation, we took 7,700 tons of aluminium out of our supply chain. We have a responsibility to make sure that we reduce the energy we require to make a ton of cans. And last year, with thousands of very minor projects, but that accumulates up to 2 to 3% energy saving per ton of production. And because we have over 50 factories, essentially that means we're able to run one factory thanks to the energy savings we've been able to make in the other 49.
Wow, okay.
In terms of waste to landfill, it's a relatively new area, and we're pleased that last year we were able to finally set up a system that allows us to track all the waste created and where it goes to from all of our sites. And we have a commitment to reduce that in time 20% over the next 3 years. So in terms of people, our first responsibility is to our employees, and our health and safety record is one of the best in the industry. So as we've written below, 75% of our sites globally had no lost time accidents in 2012. That's an unparalleled record in industry that is known as a heavy metal bashing industry. We want to ensure that we don't just operate in locations around the world, we're actually contributing to those local economies. And one of the key things we can bring is helping to educate and bring in a recycling culture to ensure that consumers know what to do with their waste materials and understand the value of recycling metals in particular.
Okay.
So one of the key questions we're often asked is, are cans a sustainable material, and do they have a future in a world where resources are constrained? And this is a graphic we use to illustrate that people often misunderstand that metal is a permanent material. So the metal that's in a can today had a past as a metal and will have a future in another metal product. So at the end of the life of a can, it can go into this infinite recycling loop and come out either as a can or an infinite number of other useful products for society. And in that way, as long as the product is recycled, there's no need to be concerned of the burden on the planet or that those materials will run out.
The future, delivering a sustainable future. How do you measure it? What are your targets, and what are the big plans for the next 5 years?
So within our Rexam sustainability framework, we have our 12 commitments and 20 KPIs. Our European business has chosen 4 KPIs to focus on, and they're illustrated behind me. So we have a commitment to reduce energy per tonne of production, to reduce our waste to landfill, to contribute towards an overall improvement in the recycling rate of beverage cans. So that's currently around in the high 60s, already a high number, but the target is to get to 75% across Europe by 2015. And the last area is ongoing lightweighting initiatives, and the plan is to take an additional 7,000 tonnes of aluminium out of the European supply chain by 2016.
Hefty commitments then. How's the show been? How's Drink Tech been for Rexam?
We love Drink Tech. So we weren't able to come last year, but I think of the beverage shows, this is definitely the most international. And although it's early in the morning here today, by mid-afternoon this stand will be heaving.
Great, and of course we'll see you this evening at the Beverage Innovation Awards, and thank you for being the headline sponsor for that.
We're delighted to sponsor that and to encourage innovation across our industry.
Excellent. Thank you for your time, John.
It's a pleasure, Bill. Thanks.